We are back with yet another tutorial on the one and only foot pin, and today we're breaking down how to dribble in FC25. Now before we get into the key techniques on how to dribble in FC25, there is one key rule that you need to stick by to ensure that you prevail with your dribbling this year in FC25, and that is that you always need to keep your back to the opponent. So to put it simply, you should never dribble into the pressure. And there is a simple technique or analogy that I like to use to coach people how to dribble in not only previous years, but this year in FC25, and that is the skiing analogy. Now, when skiers are going down a hill, they are not focusing on the trees. They are focusing on the path, because if they look at the trees when they're going down the hill, they will naturally swerve towards those trees. It's your hand-eye coordination, and it's very much the same with dribbling. You need to look at the space. Look at where the holes and gaps are when you are dribbling with the left stick, and not on the defender. If you focus on the defender, you will naturally, unintentionally, take the ball towards him, causing you to lose the ball because, aka, you are not keeping your back to him. Now, there are two techniques that you guys need to focus on when it comes to dribbling. That is feinting the opponent with a chopping technique, or there is taking the ball throughout the space using the rolling technique. Now, when feinting a defender away, you need to work on trying to implement a chopping technique. It's back and forth quite lightly. And I say lightly because you don't want to be too heavy on the left stick. You want to be very light and caressed, but yet activating a chopping motion with your thumb. It basically is a technique where you're not going all the way. You're just making a chopping motion halfway before the controller clicks. And if you hear the controller, it makes that noise. You don't want to make that noise. You want to make it halfway when you're chopping to be very light and caress. And another aspect of beating an opponent is the degree of the angle away from the opponent. You see, you can chop the ball, but if you do it side to side, he still may keep his body shape towards the approaching defender. And as I said at the start, you need to keep your back to the opponent. And how do you do that? It's a 45-degree angle at least away from the approaching defender when you are chopping. So it's almost like a diagonal chop back and forth to ensure that his shoulder and back is facing towards the defender as he attempts to weave away and feint the opponent away to then exploit the space. This will ensure that you can chop the ball and feint him so that he can commit to a certain side, and then once he's done that, you can then burst into the side that is available. Next up is rolling to space. You see, you can't chop the left stick when you're attempting to exploit the space that you are going through when left stick dribbling. No, you need to roll, and that's where the rolling technique comes in. When you see the space and you're focusing on it, like I've told you to, not the defender that is, when you're focusing on the space, you can roll the left stick in and out throughout it to hit that space and roll away from approaching defenders. So to summarize, to feint a defender away, it's a chopping motion with a 45-degree angle away from the defender. And to dribble throughout the space, you need to roll the left stick. With that being said, when it comes to space exploitation, there is one technique that will improve your ability to exploit space by tenfold, and that is R1 dribbling. You see, R1 dribbling has been enhanced this year because it used to be a technique where you could only really dribble straight, and you could dribble at around a 45-degree angle, either left or right, but it didn't allow you to move side to side. However, with R1 dribbling, you can also chop with this technique, but more importantly, it's more responsive with a roll. So when you are going throughout the space, I recommend utilizing R1 dribbling to not only chop a defender away or feint him away with a chopping motion if need be, but also you can dribble in and throughout the space that's available when you're rolling the left stick with R1 dribbling to protect the ball and keep your shoulder and back towards the opponent. So there you have it. That is a quick but simple guide on dribbling in FC25, and there are various techniques which will hopefully help you keep the ball better in FC25 instead of dribbling and losing it all the time, because I know you guys have trouble with that this year, And hopefully these techniques can help remedy those issues for you. But there's plenty more tutorials on the channel that you can learn from. So if you enjoyed this one, you may enjoy this one here.